I need to check the used names list and then write the story. The band names are Rebecca, Gerald, Derek, Diane, Avery, Nathan, Carla, Terry, Simone, Ethan, Franklin. I'll use new names: Lena, narrator, Claire, sister, Marcus, brother-in-law, and parents referred to as my parents/mom, dad. I was sitting on my couch with a lukewarm cup of coffee and my laptop open to my bank account when it finally clicked. Not all at once, more like a slow, cold drip. The kind of realization that doesn't arrive as a lightning bolt. It arrives as a pattern, and once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where it actually started. I turned 31 last March. Nothing dramatic about the number itself. I wasn't dreading it, wasn't throwing myself a party, wasn't doing anything except planning a quiet dinner with a few friends from work. A steakhouse downtown, the kind where you make a reservation 3 weeks out and feel a little fancy for doing it. I had been looking forward to it for a solid month. It was small. It was mine. And it felt like exactly the kind of birthday a person should have when they've spent the last 3 years clawing their way to something resembling stability. 2 days before, my sister Claire called. She opens with, "Hey, so I need to tell you something before you hear it from Mom." That sentence. I have heard that sentence so many times in my life that my body has learned to brace before my brain catches up. My shoulders went up. My jaw tightened. I sat down. Marcus and I decided to do something special for Mom and Dad's anniversary. You know it's coming up next month, right? 35 years. I thought it would be really meaningful to do a big family dinner. Like, a real one, at a nice place. And I already looked into it, and honestly, the private dining room at Harlow's is perfect. It fits 12, and it's... I stopped her. "Claire, what does this have to do with my birthday?" Silence. The specific kind of silence that means someone is recalibrating. Nothing. I was gonna ask if you wanted to be part of planning it. And I know your dinner is on Saturday, so I figured I'd tell you now so you could think about it. I relaxed. Okay, that was fine. I said, of course, I'd love to be part of planning it. Send me details, we'd figure it out together. Felt good, even. My parents had been married 35 years and they deserved something nice. I could help make that happen. My birthday dinner came and went. It was lovely. My friend Petra ordered the wrong thing and made a whole event out of it, and my coworker James brought a card that said congratulations on surviving another lap around the sun, and somehow that was the funniest thing I'd seen in months. I drove home that night feeling full in both senses of the word. Monday morning, I got a text from Claire. A link to a private dining package at Harlow's. 35 years, a set menu for 10, flowers, a custom cake. Below the link she wrote, "I went ahead and confirmed the reservation. We can split the deposit 3 ways. You, me, and Danny. Danny is our brother. Younger, 26, works at a gym. Sweet kid, chronically broke. The deposit was $900. 3 ways meant $300 each." I texted back, "That's a lot for Danny. Did you ask him?" She replied, "He's fine with it." I handled it. Something shifted in me, small and quiet. But I paid the deposit. Because it was my parents' anniversary. Because 35 years is real. Because I told myself I was being generous and not a pushover, and at the time I genuinely couldn't tell the difference. Here's the thing about my sister that you need to understand. Claire is talented at a specific kind of math. Not numbers. Outcomes. She can look at a situation and calculate very quickly who wants to avoid conflict badly enough to pay for it. She identified that quality in me when we were teenagers, and she has never stopped finding uses for it. I am 2 years older than her. Growing up, I was the one who got good grades, stayed out of trouble, didn't cause scenes. Claire was the one who was loud and fun and sometimes got into things she shouldn't and needed someone to cover for her. I covered for her. A lot. And at some point that dynamic just became the architecture of our relationship. I was the stable one. She was the one who needed managing, and no one ever questioned whether that was fair. When I was 24, I moved to Chicago for a job in healthcare administration. Entry level, but it had benefits and a path forward, and I took it seriously. I spent 3 years learning how to budget in a city that costs more than I expected, cooking at home 5 nights a week, putting $400 a month into savings without fail. By 27, I had a cushion. By 29, I had a cushion and a plan. Save for a house down payment, 5-year timeline, don't blow it. Claire and Marcus moved to the suburbs of the same city about a year after I got there. They have a 3-bedroom house and 2 car payments and a dog named Biscuit who requires a specific grain-free food that costs more than some people's groceries. They are not bad people. But they have always lived bigger than they earn, and the gap has to get filled somehow. I didn't know I was filling it. Or I knew and I told myself it was temporary. That's what you do. Harlow's deposit was March. The anniversary dinner was scheduled for late April. In between, Claire called twice. First call. Hey, so I was thinking since you're already helping with the dinner, it might be nice to also do something for Mom before. Like a spa day. Just the 3 of us women. I found this place that does a full package, massage, facial, the whole thing. It's $180 per person, but I have a code that brings it down to $160. What do you think? I said that sounded nice. I said I was in. Second call, 3 days later. Okay, so I went ahead and booked it, but the code only worked if I booked for 3 and paid up front, so I put it on my card. Can you just Venmo me your share? And actually, could you cover Mom's too? Marcus and I are a little tight this month. My share plus Mom's was $320. I sent it the same day because I'm an idiot. And also because I wanted to see my mom. I don't say that to be self-pitying. I'm saying it because the wanting was real and Claire has always known how to attach a price tag to a real thing so that it's very hard to say no without also saying you don't care about the real thing. The spa day happened. It was genuinely nice. My mom has this way of laughing that sounds exactly like she is surprised by it, like laughter snuck up on her, and I spent 2 hours watching her do that in a robe with cucumbers over her eyes, and it was worth every cent. I'm not pretending otherwise. But it was also $320 I hadn't planned to spend. And then the anniversary dinner happened. And the final bill came out to more than the original estimate because Claire had added a champagne toast and a custom video montage that cost extra, none of which she'd mentioned before confirming. My third of that overage was $170. I paid it. I didn't want to make a scene at my parents' anniversary dinner. By the time April was over, I had spent just over $800 in about 6 weeks on things that were technically nice and that I had technically agreed to, and I had a vague, uncomfortable feeling that I kept trying to push down. I pushed it down and I went back to my normal life. In June, Claire texted me a screenshot of a summer camp brochure. Her daughter, my niece Lily, 7 years old, obsessed with horses, had been waitlisted for an equestrian day camp about 40 minutes outside the city. Claire wrote, Lily got off the wait list. The deposit is $400, and it has to be paid by Friday or we lose the spot. I know it's bad timing, but I can't swing it this month. Could you loan me $400? I'll pay you back when Marcus gets his bonus in September. $400. Loan, September. I want to be clear, I love Lily. She has a gap between her 2 front teeth, and she talks about horses with a sincerity that I find genuinely moving. When she got off that wait list, she probably ran around the house. I sent the $400. September came. No bonus mentioned, no Venmo, no text. I didn't ask. I told myself I'd bring it up next time I saw them. October. Claire's birthday. She turned 29 and Marcus threw her a dinner party, the kind where you bring a nice bottle of wine and put in cash for the group gift. I brought Malbec and put in $50. It was at their house. Their beautiful house with the big kitchen and the dog and the granite countertops and the Peloton in the spare room. And I sat at their table and drank wine I'd brought and ate food I'd chipped in for. And I thought, I should bring up the $400. And then I thought, not tonight. And then I went home and didn't bring it up. I don't know exactly when the $400 stopped being a loan in my head and became a loss. Somewhere around November, I think. And then December happened. Claire called me the first weekend of December. Voice call, not text, which is always a signal. Okay, so I want to talk to you about Christmas. Marcus and I want to do a big thing this year. Like rent a cabin up in Wisconsin for the whole family for the long weekend. Just us, Mom and Dad, Danny. We looked at some places, and there's this gorgeous one near Lake Geneva that sleeps 8, hot tub, fireplace, the whole thing. It would really make Christmas feel special this year. I said that sounded expensive. She said, it is, but if we split it evenly, it's not bad. It comes out to around $1,100 per family unit. I want to take a moment to appreciate the phrase per family unit because I am a single woman living alone in a one-bedroom apartment, which is technically also a family unit. So thank you for that. I said, Claire, $1,100 is a lot for me right now. She said, I know, but think about it. You'd be saving on travel, you'd be saving on gifts because we could do a group gift thing instead. And honestly, you spend more than that on a regular Christmas between flights and everything. That last part was not true. I drive 4 hours to my parents' house, and I bring a cooler of food and wine. It costs me maybe $200 total. But I didn't say that. I said I'd think about it. She sent me the rental link that night. It was $90 for my portion. She'd already done the math. She'd already assigned portions. She sent it like a bill. I called my mom. Not to complain. I just called, the way I do on Sunday nights. But about 20 minutes in, she said, Claire mentioned the cabin. I think it's a really sweet idea. You going, right? And there it was. The full structure of it. Claire plans, Claire pays, Claire tells Mom, Mom assumes, I'm already in. I said, I haven't decided yet. My mom said, oh, Lena, just that. My name and an exhale. I stayed up late that night doing math. Not vacation math. Real math. I opened a notes app and I started writing down everything I had spent in the past 9 months that had originated with Claire. Anniversary dinner deposit, $300. Spa day, $320. Dinner overage, $170. Lily's camp, $400. October birthday dinner, $50. 2 other smaller things I'd half forgotten. A baby shower contribution from Marcus's coworker because you know her too, and a grocery run I'd done for my parents when I was visiting that Claire had promised to split and never did. Total, $1,412. I sat with that number for a long time. $1,200 wouldn't have changed my life, but $1,412 plus the $1,080 cabin was $2,492, and not $1 of that had ever been genuinely my idea. Not one of those decisions had started with me. Every single one had started with Claire and ended with a Venmo request or a bill link or my mom's voice saying my name like it was a question. I didn't text Claire back that night. I made myself sleep on it. The next morning, I looked at the cabin link again. I looked at the pictures. Lake Geneva in winter is actually beautiful. The snow, the fireplace, the hot tub steaming in cold air. I thought about my niece Lily running around in the snow. I thought about my parents laughing. And then I thought, I could have a really nice Christmas. On my own terms. For less than $1,080. I texted Claire, I'm not going to be able to do the cabin this year. Have a great time though. 3 minutes. That's how long it took before my phone rang. What do you mean you can't do the cabin? I already put down a deposit. You put down a deposit before I confirmed I was going? I thought you were going. Everyone else said yes. Claire, I said I'd think about it. Lena, this is a family thing. Mom and Dad are going. Danny's going. It's literally just you. I know. I'm sorry. I can't do it this year. She said, fine. And she hung up. 2 hours later, my mom called. I love my mother. I need to say that clearly. She is a woman who has given most of herself to other people for most of her life, and she does it because she genuinely believes that's what love looks like. She's not manipulative in the way Claire is. She just also doesn't understand that love can look like a limit. She said, your sister is very upset. I said, I know. She said, you know how much this meant to her. She put so much work into planning this. I said, Mom, she planned something expensive and assumed I was paying without asking me first. I can't keep doing that. There was a pause, and then my mother said something that I have thought about almost every day since. She said, You're so good with money, Lena. You've always been so good with money. Claire struggles, you know that. You have more than you need. I have more than I need. Because I cook at home. Because I didn't buy a house bigger than I could afford. Because I said no to things I wanted and yes to my savings account for 7 years. Because I did the math over and over in the dark by myself. Mom, I said, I love you. I'll see you at Christmas. She didn't answer that. She said, I hope you change your mind about the cabin, and we said goodbye. I put the phone down and I sat there for a minute. And then I did something I should have done months ago. I called my bank. I have a credit card, the one I use for work expenses and emergencies, the one I pay off every month. I hadn't looked at the statement in detail in a while. I'd been paying the balance and moving on. I went through every charge for the last 6 months. There were 2 I didn't recognize, both from the same subscription service, a meal planning app I have never used. $11 a month, 6 months in a row, totaling $66. Small enough to miss? I almost missed it. I called the subscription service. They had a billing address and name on file for the account. The name was mine. The address was not mine. It was Claire and Marcus's address. I want to describe what that felt like, but I'm not sure I can do it exactly. It wasn't rage. It was more like confirmation. Like something I had been sensing in my periphery suddenly appeared directly in front of me, and I thought, there it is. There it actually is. I disputed the charges. My bank was helpful and efficient. 6 months of unauthorized charges, reversed within 48 hours. I got a new card number. When the representative asked if I knew who had made the charges, I said I had a suspicion. She said, you may want to consider filing a report. I thought about it. I really did. And then I decided that what I wanted wasn't a police report. What I wanted was to be done. I texted Claire, can you check your email? She texted back, why? I wrote back, I forwarded you something from my bank. Please read it. What I'd forwarded was a summary of the dispute. The dates, the amounts, the subscription service, the address on file. Nothing for 4 hours. And then my phone rang. I can explain, you don't need to. Marcus set it up when we were trying out different meal planning apps, and he used your card by accident because the number was saved on my phone from when you, Claire, paid for the spa day. The card was in my contacts and he didn't realize. Claire. Stop. She stopped. I'm not interested in the explanation. I want you to know that I saw it, that I disputed it, and that I've gotten a new card number. That's all. A long pause. And then, quietly, are you seriously making this a whole thing? I said, no. I'm making it nothing. I hung up. I didn't call my mother. I didn't text Danny. I didn't post anything. I didn't send a long message to a group chat. I didn't explain myself to anyone. I just sat with it. I opened my notes app and I looked at that number. $1,412, and I added $66 to it and I looked at the new total. And then I made a list of the things I was going to do differently. Number 1, no more deposits paid before I confirm in writing. Number 2, no more splitting things that I didn't agree to ahead of time. Number 3, no more loans without a repayment plan in writing, starting with $400 still owed from June. Number 4, and this one I wrote twice and underlined it, no more letting someone else's financial chaos become my emergency. Christmas came. I drove to my parents' house alone. I brought wine and a tray of my mom's favorite lemon bars that I'd made from scratch. My parents were home because the cabin trip had fallen through. Apparently without my share, the cost breakdown didn't work, and Marcus and Claire had decided to push it to next year. Nobody mentioned the subscription charges. Nobody mentioned the $400. My mom hugged me at the door like everything was normal and asked if I wanted coffee. I said yes. I sat at the kitchen table while she made it, watching snow come down outside the window over the sink, and for the first time in a long time, I felt uncomplicated, like I had set something down that I hadn't realized I was carrying. Lily called that afternoon to tell me about the new horse book she'd gotten. She talked for 11 minutes straight, and I listened to every word. Claire texted me on Christmas morning, just, Merry Christmas. I texted back, Merry Christmas. And that was it. No resolution, no apology, no dramatic confrontation. Just a door I'd stopped leaving open and the strange, unfamiliar feeling of standing on the right side of it. I'm telling you this not because I think my sister is a monster. I don't. I think she learned very young that I would rather write a check than have a hard conversation, and she used that information for years, and eventually I had to stop making it so easy for her. The 1,478 and I never got back. And let's call it what it is. Because the loan didn't come back either. Taught me something that I couldn't have learned any other way. It's not that people don't change. It's that they don't change until the old way stops working. I made the old way stop working. My savings account is back on track. I'm 3 years from a down payment if nothing changes. I cook at home 4 nights a week and I buy good coffee because it genuinely makes my mornings better, and that's a choice I get to make. Last month, I got a text from an unknown number that turned out to be Marcus. It said, "Hey, Claire is going through a hard time. She misses you. Would mean a lot if you reached out." I read it twice. I put my phone face down on the counter. Then I picked it back up, added the number to my contacts under Don't Answer, and went back to making dinner. Not everything needs a response. Some things just need to be seen clearly, and let go, and not repeated. I've gotten pretty good at the last part. I used to think patience was the same thing as kindness, that absorbing someone else's mess quietly, without complaint, was a form of love. It took me a long time, and about $1,478 I'll never see again, to understand that those two things are not the same at all. What happened with Claire didn't happen because she's a bad person. I've thought about that a lot. She's not. She's someone who learned early that a certain kind of person will keep saying yes if you never make the ask feel optional. And I was that person for a long time. I made it easy. I answered the phone, I sent the Venmo, I told myself it was temporary, and then watched temporary stretch out over years. The subscription charges were small, $66. In the context of everything, that's almost a footnote. But they mattered because they were the thing I couldn't rationalize. Every other expense had come with a story I could hold on to. The anniversary, Lily's camp, my mother's laugh in a spa robe. I could point to something real and tell myself it had been worth it. The subscription charges were just $66, quietly leaving my account every month for half a year. No story. No occasion. Just the assumption that I wouldn't notice, or that if I did, I wouldn't say anything. That assumption was built on evidence. Years of it, and the only person who had supplied that evidence was me. I think about the version of myself who first said yes to the anniversary dinner deposit. She wasn't weak. She wasn't stupid. She genuinely wanted to do something nice for her parents, and she didn't yet understand that the invitation had terms she hadn't read. That version of me deserved better information. What I know now, and what I wish I'd understood sooner, is that generosity has to come from a decision, a real one, made with full knowledge of what you're giving and why. The moment it starts coming from conflict avoidance, from the path of least resistance, from not wanting to hear your mother say your name in that particular tone, that's not generosity anymore. That's just the cost of keeping the peace, and peace that costs that much isn't really peace. Resilience, I've learned, is not about being tough in dramatic moments. It's about the small, unglamorous decision to look clearly at a situation even when clarity is uncomfortable. It's about opening a bank statement and not looking away. It's about writing down a number, $1,412, and letting it mean what it means instead of rounding it down to something more comfortable. And the moral part, the ethics of it, I think that's simpler than it sounds. It's not wrong to have limits. It is wrong to pretend you don't, so that someone else never has to reckon with theirs. When I kept absorbing Claire's financial decisions without a word, I wasn't protecting her from anything. I was protecting her from the feedback that might have actually helped her. That's not kindness. That's just delay. Lily called me on Christmas afternoon and talked about horses for 11 minutes. I listened to every word. That was free. That cost nothing. And it was the best part of the whole year. Some things are worth everything. Most invoices are not.